Greetings, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Livermore. So, Sonia. Back in the house. Hey, nice to see you again. Would you be willing to lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It counts, yeah. Songsters, you ready?
You don't have to look, though. We never know what we're supposed to do, so we decided we'd do something that we've done before many times, and I think it's really important that we pay homage to America. So let's do America the Beautiful, because it sure is beautiful. Because you're here, that's why. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. That's always fun when everybody knows the words, right? That's more fun. Alan, you have a thought for us today?
So Horace Walpole coined the word serendipity in 1754, referring to a fairy tale about the three princes of Serendip, which is now Sri Lanka, who were always making discoveries for which they were not looking for. And so to disclaimer, it's not when you're going into your closet and you're looking for something and you find all this stuff you forgot you have. We're talking about something a little bit different than that. There's been lots of inventions and lots of discoveries in science, and you've heard of penicillin and Post-it notes. There's also the pacemaker, it turns out, chocolate chip cookies, etc. I would like to tell you about personal serendipity recently. Many of you contributed to the food pantry, which opened yesterday, by the way. And if you haven't been there, you may want to go down and take a look at it. And that is an example of serendipity. I was not looking for a place to provide a food bank for Tri-Valley Haven. I was actually looking for a place for Quest Science Center. Jay Davis we had also been looking around to see if we can find something. Well, this opportunity came up. It turns out that Quest really wasn't in a position to be able to take advantage of it at the time, but in terms of talking to Tri-Valley Haven, because there was a parking issue, it turns out they said, oh, but we would like to rent the space because their space was too small, and they were very anxious to be able to expand. This is right next to their thrift shop. And it turns out that Kathy Young, who had been working with Quest, again, Jay Davis was the person who connected Kathy Young to Quest, but she was moving back into spending full time on TV NPA, said, oh, by the way, Moni Knopp and I, when we first started TV NPA, wanted to have a place for a co-work space for nonprofits. So it turns out that even though those were the things that I was not thinking of or looking for, and what I was looking for didn't turn out, serendipity is a matter of recognizing an opportunity that you're not planning to do and taking advantage of it. And sometimes we forget about that. I and many of you have probably gotten highly scheduled lives where you think you know where you're going and how you're going to get there. And some of you probably even had to deal with earned value calculations and stuff like that. But anyway, I want to make sure that you all take advantage of serendipity. There are lots of opportunities you're not looking for.
Thank you, Alan. So our meeting frontline, I know this all looks seamless and perfect, but there's actually a lot of people working hard behind the scenes to make sure that this pulls off every week. I want to acknowledge those folks. Our Zoom host this week, Kathy Coyle. Kathy, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it. Spur reporter, I didn't actually see her a few minutes ago. Maybe she's shown up, but in case we are missing a Spur reporter today, anybody that wants to jot down some notes, that'd be great. Helping out on the audio visual, Dennis O'Brien. Dennis, thank you for all your help. Zoom chat monitor, Pat Coyle. Pat, thank you for jumping in at the last minute there. Appreciate it. Don Wentz, our Spur publisher this week, going to make sure everybody gets the word of what happened this week, next week. So thank you all for your help. At this time, I'd like to welcome, I don't see any visiting Rotarians in the room. We've got a couple of guests that will get introduced here later. How about out in Zoom land? Kathy, do we have any visiting Rotarians joining us today?
No, we don't, Ken.
Any
President
guests?
Ken. No, we don't have any guests either.
Okay, all right, okay. Thanks for checking. So announcements, always lots of good stuff happening.
One question, or one follow-up. We do have a guest with Ed Coates that he introduced to several of us. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, Ed, who's your guest?
My special lady, Carol.
All
And
right.
you'll have the opportunity to meet her on Friday night at the anniversary party.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are too.
All right. Nice. Thank you. Okay, announcements. Crab feed.
Okay. I thought you, so everybody that here is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoomland and my live Rotarians in person. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if any of you know this, but on Friday, March 18th, we're gonna have a crab feed. Woo-hoo! And your wonderful crab committee, crabsters, as Bob Cowan calls us, we are feverishly working to organize and get this crab feed up and running. And my hat off to this wonderful group and those of you out there that have really stepped up. I really, truly appreciate it. But as always, with any endeavor that our Rotary, I need to get in front of the microphone. Any endeavor that our Rotary goes into, we always need that one element, the one special element to make it a home run: volunteers. So we have a few spots still left. The bar, which is always the favorite, you will, thank you. Oh goodness, Mr. Ferrucci just stepped up and said, yes, he would help. We'll pencil you in, buddy. Bar, yeah. You know, usually that's the first one to go. That's the first one filled up. Anyway, a few bar, yeah, it's not testing or tasting, but the bar and some help in the kitchen as leaders. But anyway, and last but not least, items for the raffle. Because remember, that ticket price just covers the roof over our head and the crab. We need bar sales and raffle tickets to make us money. And that money we need to help us make a difference here and around the world. So I implore all of you to please, because what's going to happen next week is I'm going to go out there and grab you and assign you out there too. All right, thank you.
And Mike Thompson, Mike, are you trying to incentivize folks to come up with contributions? Or?
As Sheila said, hi, Zoomland. Wish you were here. Yes, we have 10 cases at least. With the first 10 people that give us a donation of $135 or more for the crab feed, you will get a case of wine, Livermore wine. So Michael has taken the first one, so we've got 9 left. just call me or email me, and the first 10 I will arrange to take care of it. Dennis, does anyone have?
Don Wentz just raised his hand. Oh, 3 gone.
Okay.
What is the line?
Okay,
I can't be there. There's not going to be any left.
I need to, does anyone have a pen and paper? They can write it down.
The wine's Wednesday, and it's 4 different wines. It's Cabernet Sauvignon, it's Sauvignon Blanc,
Mixed case.
donating a raffle thing, is that what we're doing?
No, cash
We'll just give you $125.
or more. We take more. 200 sounds good, but, okay, just
Who's writing it down?
Sheila.
Okay. Mike, there's 2 on Zoom.
Cases, but
There's 2 on Zoom. Ron and me.
while that's happening, just a quick thing. Friday night, we still have a few openings. If you would like to join us, as it's down to the wire now, please call me directly or email me directly, or preferably call me directly to let me know if you want to come Friday, 6 o'clock, $100 per. And it's going to be a very nice evening, very nice menu. Yes.
I have a list of attendees on Friday. And if you want it, before you leave, I'll stay and give me your proof of vaccination. Then we'll have you on a list and just check you off when you come in the door on Friday.
Yeah, this
And
will
we'll
save
use
a
it
lot
for the
of
crab
time.
feed too.
Thank you all.
Question.
Yes.
Is there going to be, there's a silent auction and a live auction? Is that correct?
At the crab feed, yes, correct.
All right.
And Carolyn, I understand, Carolyn, you're collecting the auction items? Or you're, Diana's collecting the items? Or did Bob? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thirsty Rotarians, right? Christian, are you
Yes,
out
sir.
there you are. Okay. You got an update for us?
Yes, just a very quick reminder about March 19th for the Sleep in Heavenly Peace Build Day. We're gonna have fun. Just come out, bring yourself, bring anything you wanna bring. And if you wanna bring any equipment, you don't have to. That'll be a fun day. But remember, it is one day right after the crab feed. So no excuses that you slept over. You know, I'll be calling you to wake you up if you signed up, but please sign up.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Christian. Okay. Kathy, can you give us a quick background on this International Women's Day?
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Well, thank
It's
you.
pretty obvious from the poster. That's about it. We're having 2 guest speakers. It's what they would like, though, is they're looking for people to donate Rotary magazines. And maybe I could get some club collateral to take to the event, because it's the ideas that will get a lot of people there who will want to join Rotary. So it's going to be a fun event. If you have it's March 13th. It's going to be a fun event. Should be a lot of fun.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. So,
Oh, and Ken, is anybody raised their hand to take notes?
no, but I'm sure
No.
with all of the wonderful memories that we have in this class, in this room,
Okay,
we'll piece it together. So,
okay.
yeah, so
We'll
it
work
might
on
be
it.
really short next week. So check out the video if you missed anything. So always a video, always a video. So be on your best behavior because there's always a video. Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next announcement. Gowd, I saw you out there in Zoom land. You have an update for us on your ear, nose, throat project, right?
Yes. Thank you, Ken,
Thank
and
you.
the Rotarians. I'll give a very quick update. on the ENT mobile facility project in India. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the global grant application for the project is in progress. 2 weeks ago, I talked to them. They expect the approval within 30, 45 days. Now, I'm excited to tell you the fundraising has been very, very successful. We raised a total of 19,450. That exceeds the goal of 14,700. And and the Rotarians contributed 6,250. And I was able to raise 13,200 from friends and family. And most of those friends are from the area where this project, Rotary project, is started. So I was able to twist their arms and whatever. So I think we had a very successful fundraising. Now, I thank all the Rotarians for their generous contributions, and I will be sending an email to every one of them who have contributed. And again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Gal, thank you. Way to go, Rotarians, right? Lots of generous Rotarians making good things happen around the world. That's awesome. So Irv, you had a quick ask for the club, right?
Last week, I gave you an overview of the 75th accomplishments for the club. And prior to getting this started on that, I went to the warehouse, the club's warehouse on Tesla Road. And there was a whole stack of these manila envelopes, about 2 inches thick. And so I took a dozen of them so home and started looking through them, a lot of reading. Well, I went back this past Saturday, and the remainder, 30 or 40 of them, have disappeared. So somebody who has a key probably moved them to our other storage warehouse, which is on South Front Street. But I have no record of who that might be. And the question is, does anybody here or anybody on Zoom land have an idea who was last there and maybe where they moved them?
The case of the missing Spurs.
I have a real brief thing I want to lay on top of what Gowd said. So that was a tremendous fundraiser, just an outpouring of generosity, obviously. So we did have some just mechanical issues identifying all of the donations that came in, because they were going to Rotarian Foundation of Livermore, some of them went in the wrong accounts and so on. So all I'm going to ask, and Gowd requested this as well, is please send an email to me at gdkubiak@gmail.com or Gowd if you think you donated to the Gowd's India ENT project and you do not get an email acknowledging that from Gowd. Okay, Gowd, did I get that right? Anything else you want to add to that, buddy?
No, that's great. I think we just want to make sure we recognize everyone who contributed. So that's the purpose.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. So I think that's it for the announcements today. I think, Marianne, you've got something.
I just wanted to remind everyone that the last session for the grants are due May 2nd, the first Wednesday in March. So please contact teachers and community groups and have them send in their applications to me. Right now, we only have about 3.
And I'm sorry, Marianne, you said May or March?
March.
So
yeah, the applications are due on the first Wednesday in March.
First Wednesday in March.
And that's
okay.
coming up.
Okay.
So there's some that are supposed to be coming in, but I haven't seen them. So.
Okay. So if you know good organizations out there that could use a few bucks, tell them to get those applications in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. So next week's program, this sounds like a ton of fun. always we get rave reviews for the songsters, their creativity, their musical talent. So next week, they're going to pull the curtain back and share with us how the magic is made, how they come up with all this great music. Should be an excellent program, so you're not going to want to miss that. At this point, I would like to turn the mic over to Bill Nebo, so he can tee up our one of our guests here.
My task is to introduce the speech contest. Every year we have in our 5170 Rotary organization always has a speech contest, and we've done this for many years. Last year we did not have it because of COVID, and we didn't want to do it all online. So we're back in person. The high schools trying to get back up to speed. We have one contestant this year. That contestant you'll be hearing in a moment. We call her contestant A, whether we have A, B, C, or D, until she is finished, and then we will tell you her name and she will introduce herself. It's been my pleasure to work with contestant A, who signed up fairly early on, and we've heard her life story and to guide her through this project. The speech project contest takes 5 minutes. Each speech is no longer than 5 minutes, no shorter than 4 minutes. It has a theme, and the theme this year is Serve to Change the World. Inside of the speech, there must be some reference to one of the items of the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? One of those must appear in some form inside of the speech. So we will hear now from contestant A.
Hi. I was asked how I plan to serve to change the world. Although this is a really big question to take on, the answer came rather easily to me. I'm very passionate about advocating for mental health and reducing stigma in our community. What is stigma? Stigma is the negative attitude and discrimination towards mental health, and like stereotypes, for example. During my sophomore year in high school, I got offered this program in the majority of our world history classes called Teen Mental Health First Aid. Teen Mental Health First Aid is a program about showing students how to help their friends through mental health challenges and getting them connected with a trusted adult. And although I didn't think much of it at the time, it personally came in handy because the pandemic followed right after this. And although we don't realize it as much, the pandemic did take a toll on a lot of people's mental health. In the US, 4 in 10 adults reported symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder over the pandemic. And to put that in perspective, that is only people who reported their symptoms. Many people don't report their symptoms for a variety of reasons. Some may feel invalidated and not think that their symptoms are much to think of. Others feel rather embarrassed because of what they are experiencing. My junior year of high school, over online school, our social-emotional counselor at Livermore High, Mr. Radicky, offered me and a couple other of students to help start the Wellness Center at our school. The Wellness Center is a safe space on campus where students can go if they need a break from class, if they are going through a mental health challenge, and it's pretty much a space where they can go and de-escalate. Students have the opportunity to talk to a culture keeper or our social-emotional counselor. A culture keeper is a student who works in the Wellness Center, and they take on various tasks and help maintain the vibe of the space. My experience through the Wellness Center really taught me more in depth about mental health and the effect it has on people, and it really helped me learn more on how to continue in helping people. Working in the Wellness Center really inspired me to want to create more safe spaces like the Wellness Center, but have it open to the public, not just students. I believe it would be beneficial to all concerned about their mental health. There are so many people who just need to take a moment because life can get overwhelming, and I think people don't realize how much we need that break and how important it is to our bodies. People need to realize that it is okay to not be okay sometimes. And having more and more people talk about their mental health is key to reducing stigma in our community. Overworking in the Wellness Center for about 2 years now, I have talked with various students, and many of them were told in the past that they were taught or told to hide their feelings and put on a happy face, especially men. Toxic masculinity is a big thing, and it teaches men to hide their feelings and to be strong and put on a tough face. At the beginning of this school year, there was a really big incident. It led to the death of one student, and it caused other students to be injured as well. One student was so injured that it could have caused grave damage to them. This caused many people to go to the Wellness Center, and for the most part, that is a good thing because that is what the Wellness Center is for students that are in crises. There's only one problem I noticed. The majority of the people that came in were girls, grieving, crying, and expressing their emotions, and that is what one should do when going through such a tragedy. But the other people that came in, the few boys that came in, would be rather quiet and wouldn't want to talk about how they were feeling. Society has always told men to not show weakness and not cry and not be vulnerable, but I think we should break that stereotype. I want to serve to change the world by showing people how important it is to prioritize your mental health just as much as you prioritize your physical health. Healthy bodies linked to healthy minds will make healthy decisions, and it is this combination that can deliver to us a healthy future. Thank you.
I present to you Cassandra Torres, who is a senior at Livermore High School, and she will be going on to the next round, which takes place on March the 10th at Foothill High School at 6 p.m. in the evening. And I'll have Cassandra tell you about herself.
Hi, I'm Cassandra. I am currently a senior at LHS. I plan on going to Los Positos for the next 2 years and hopefully transfer to a UC. I'm the first generation in my family to attend college, and my other hobbies include reading. I like reading a lot, drawing, and I've also played soccer. Yeah, thank you.
It's very interesting to me that she really wants to go into areas where psychology is the foundation, and yet in school, what she's really doing well in is chemistry. So thank you, Cassandra.
That's so cool. They say that public speaking is one of the scariest things you'll ever do, and you did awesome. So you're going to do great. So at this time, I would like to hand the mic over to Splen, who is going to introduce our speaker today.
Thank you, President Ken. Well, I have a great pleasure in introducing someone that I've known for several years in a field that I think a lot of us don't touch. I mean, I do, and that has to do with civil engineering and surveying, and which of course touches real estate, which is what I do. And I've worked with ChuckMcCallum at Kier and Wright, who's the CEO and president of Kier and Wright, which is a very large civil engineering and surveying firm that is based right here in Livermore, with offices throughout California. But I do want to tell you just a little bit about the field, because like I said, I don't think people touch it very much. And give you an example of how it impacts our lives, even though we don't realize it. Many years ago, one of the projects that I worked on with Chuck was what's called the El Charro Specific Plan. I don't know if any of the city people are on or not, but Chuck and his team and Sherry Sheets, I don't know if Sherry's on, who was at the time the city engineer, designed and worked on what we call the infrastructure, which is everything on the ground. And to give you an example of how strong that team was, I mean, you all out there, you see all the outlets and you think probably not much of it, but there was a lot of money that had to be poured into developing that. But it also did a lot of good for the community because it built a road, Jack London, that you all maybe drive on. But one thing you all didn't probably realize that we learned, in a flood, the airport was going to be flooded, which would have impacted emergency services. So Chuck's team and Sherry's team figured out a way how to get so the airport would not flood, so that planes would land and helicopters in a big emergency. And I said, that's just the joy of working when you do real estate development. It's a team. There's a lot of members of the team, but I've learned to really appreciate the civil engineering piece because it just impacts your lives more than you probably realize. So let me introduce, great pleasure, ChuckMcCallum.
Thank you, Splend. I had the pleasure of having a father who was a president of a Rotary Club in South Pasadena, California, and my sister who was president of Fallon, Nevada Rotary Club. So they've always been trying to get me there. Splend finally got me here today. So, what are you waiting for? I know. Well, when I ask questions, then you can all recruit me. It's good that you've shown up on Zoom, those of you who are not here with us as well, and I'll look at you, try to look at you as well, just to kind of share my heart. I didn't used to live in Livermore. I'm a Southern Californian. Okay, don't give me a hard time. We don't take all your water, right? And I ended up going to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. How many San Luis Obispo grads do we have here? Or you have kids? Okay. We probably have a lot more Stanford and Cal grads here, right? Okay. You get along, right? Stanford and Cal? Okay. All Rotarians. What? Except twice a year. Okay. But I ended up meeting my wife, who I've been married with 37 years at Cal Poly, and we ended up moving to the Bay Area in 1987. And I ended up starting work for an engineering firm called DES that was located in Redwood City and Fremont at my first job here. And over time, I ended up moving from that job to Kier and Wright as a young engineer. I actually started working in Pleasanton in 1989. And in 1994, I left for a while because I didn't feel like it was a career for me. And then I ended up coming back in 1994 and moving my whole family to Livermore. We had 3 young children, and we were excited to be here in Livermore. So, I didn't know much about Livermore at the time. I didn't know it had the longest lit light bulb in the world, over 100 years. I didn't know it had the most physicists per capita with Livermore Labs. I didn't know all the wineries that were out here. And my wife grew up going to wineries all the time because her uncle was a winemaker in Sonoma, Pinzel, which made an excellent Cabernet. So it was really a perfect fit for us to grow our family here in Livermore. Well, our office was still in Pleasanton and was growing and growing and growing. We did a lot of work with the city of Livermore and started working on different projects in Livermore, Pleasanton, the entire Tri-Valley. And we were a firm of probably 10, when we first started here in Pleasanton, there were probably 8 of us that were here in Pleasanton. We had about 25 in Santa Clara, and that was our main office. But since that time, things have changed. In 2010, we moved our office from Pleasanton to Livermore. And we actually, our offices are up by Collier Canyon, right near Costco, right across the street from Las Positas College. And we moved there for a reason. First of all, it was perfect in size. The rents were a little bit lower than what we were experiencing in Pleasanton, but also because of what we were doing in Livermore. We were committed. We were involved with the El Chorro specific plan. Like Splin talked about, we had done some of you know, the Oaks Business Park, which is on Isabel and Jacqueline, and we basically developed and managed that whole process as well. And we worked on the El Chorro specific plan, $360 million of infrastructure. In fact, people from San Francisco think they're coming to San Francisco when they come to the Livermore outlets out there. But they don't realize they're in Livermore, and they think this is a great place, and they come with suitcases to get everything that they want to take back to their country. And so Livermore has become a destination. It's become a place where people come to from all over the world. People come here for the wine, they come here for the Livermore Labs, they come here for multiple things, and they come for family. In fact, this summer I was downtown, and I met all these people from San Francisco, and they said, "Why?" I said, "Why are you here? You got San Francisco?" Because it's warm here. It's freezing in San Francisco, and it's all closed down in San Francisco. So they were glad to be here and to participate in our community. And I think Livermore has developed a place that especially our employees love to live. Now we have over 230 employees. Now that's statewide, and we have over 7 offices. And we went from, when I was a partner, we were a $6 million operation. We're up to a $50 million statewide engineering operation, working on projects all throughout the Bay Area. In fact, during COVID, we didn't slow down, we grew. And people are still committed to the city of Livermore. We moved our corporate office in 2010 to Livermore, and it was the best move we possibly could make. And people have moved here because they could afford to live here. We opened up offices in Manteca, Sacramento. Now we have an office in Irvine as well. And I feel like Livermore invested in us, and we invested in them. Because of the El Chorro specific plan, it gave us great confidence to move into projects. Some of you look over the hill, there's 1,800 acres in Tracy that we're working on with Prologis, the largest logistics center in Northern California. And because of our confidence that we built in working on that, we in the El Chorro specific plan, we moved into greater projects. We were basically doing Facebook's work. We just did Mark Zuckerberg's main office in Menlo Park. And we're doing 26 towers in downtown San Jose with the J. Paul Company and John Sobrato, and we're involved with multiple projects. So I think we're putting Livermore on the map in a lot of ways in what we do, at least in the area of civil engineering. We're one of the top 500 engineering firms in the entire country, engineering and architectural. I think we were 327 last year. And as part of, basically of the revenue and what we're involved with. And our employees love living here in Livermore. And we're still very involved with projects here in Livermore. We're involved with the downtown. So if you have opinions about it, you can talk to me, but we're just doing the engineering at this point in time, and working on the streets and the roads. And we're working on the legacy project that you see that got stopped and then restarted downtown. So the cool thing about it is our employees live here, so they have investment in the community too. So even though we make our livings by being civil engineers, we care about the community as well. And everyone who's part of Kier and Wright really feels a part of this region. So what do civil engineers do? Well, civil engineers we help people make their dreams come true, I think. We work with architects who are dreamers. And they basically develop projects. We work with developers who invest in regions, and we basically help them bring economic stimulus into the area. But we work behind the scene. We're the backstage instead of the front stage. And one of the things about that's been effective about us is we have been able to work behind the scenes to help many things happen as an organization, at Kier and Wright. And I think one of the things is you have many companies here that you should be proud of that are behind the scenes with medical devices. There's a lot of medical devices here. The things that are happening at Sandia and Lawrence, Livermore, major things that are happening in the infrastructure and the fastest computer in the world. There are multiple things happening, and we're still very involved with those projects. We're an outside consultant, particularly with Sandia National Laboratories and a little bit with Livermore. We're the ones who did the security project that closed to East Avenue so that the laboratories could have more security during that time. So I can't say any more about that, right? Because that's, I know we have some lab people here. I can't say any more. But it's just been a pleasure for us to be a part of Livermore. And I guess for us, as you know, as we get into asking some questions, you may have some interest about us and maybe even how do you get businesses more into Livermore? That'd be something I could talk to you about if you're interested in questions like that, or even getting younger Rotarians too. How do you get more people involved in Rotary? I think Rotary can be a great opportunity for this next generation. And one of the reasons Splint invited me here is he knows I'm a marketing type person, and helping grow what the next steps are in different things. So thank you for welcoming me here. And do you have any questions? And I guess I'm not B, right? I'm not. She was A. I'm just got a B.
No, you're not B. Let me just remind everybody though, for those of you on Zoom, if you could please practice good Zoom manners and raise your hand. Pat Coyle, I see you out there demonstrating best practices. Kathy jumping right in there, appreciate that. We'll try and bounce back and forth. Pat, since I think you were absolutely the first one, maybe you can go ahead and ask the first question.
Well, just I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this wonderful, wonderful introduction about what you're doing and so forth. And I have a question about how you counsel young people who are interested in engineering, in STEM and so forth, particularly in the context. I mean, you're familiar with our community. You know, we have TopCon here. You know about precision survey and placement and so forth, and the sort of centimeter level accuracy at which your teams can survey up. Or I was just looking at your company website, 3D scan for stuff. It just seems like this is an extraordinarily interesting intersection of the built environment, CAD tools, and these amazing technologies. And yet it's all for the kind of purpose that you talked about, to enable people to get their dreams, right?
Pat's an engineer.
Cal Poly rocks.
And I noticed Don Wentz too. Don, I may have met you a long time ago when you at your construction company quite a while back too. So, we have an intern program. We're always trying to get more engineers. Our biggest issue in growing as a company right now is not having enough young people in the engineering field. And then it takes about 5 to 10 years to really create a really good engineer. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Outliers. It takes about 10,000 hours. And so 5 years they learn technical ability at our school, at our office, and then about 5 years they learn how to be project managers. And we try to keep them for that 10 years, especially with a generation that wants to move from job to job. We only have a 3% turnover rate, so we've been pretty successful there. But a lot of what we do is we get interns. So if you do know young engineers or people are interested in the engineering job space, even if they don't come work for us, there could be opportunities to share with some young people at high schools or college about moving into engineering, because we really don't have enough engineers right now. And getting them to a place where they're trained, it's difficult. And we found that many engineers they learn to be managers and they don't stay technically good. So we pride ourselves on being problem solvers. So we have a branding, which is, we call it CPR, collaborate with people skills, P, problem solving, and R, responsiveness. And those are the things we try to bring to our client to help them do well. So what we try to do is find young people who actually carry those skills and can help us be more effective in engineering. So I think it's really an important time to give young people a vision about what they could do in different fields, and we need to train them up. And especially some of yourselves, how many engineers do we have in the room here? Okay. I know. But you can mentor people. We're actually talking about bringing in surveyors and engineers to review our plans on a part-time basis to do QA/QC, because people need a life even afterwards. And we've talked about bringing that into our office because we can't find enough engineers. And so that's how different. We're also hiring people who are, we call PAs. We do things in teams, and they're project administrators, and we try to pull things off the shoulders of the engineer, like change orders and billing and other things that they have been doing, and bring other people in and train them enough about engineering so they can support us. So we've had to be very creative on the job side to keep us growing. And we grew from 183 to 230 during COVID. So we're doing okay, but we could do better.
We have one more and then.
Yes.
Okay. Kathy Coyle, do you want to ask your question of Chuck?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. That was really a lot of fun to listen to, Chuck. And my question is, because I'm managing the Zoom meeting, I might not have caught everything Splend said about you, but I notice you're not wearing a Rotary pin. So if you're not a Rotarian yet,
yeah,
you should not leave without a yellow card.
That's great.
So you're not saying anything more than that. I think you'd be a wonderful Rotarian. You even spoke to us about how you could give us some marketing skills.
You are, and I know that about you. I got a scholarship from Rotary in the YMCA when I was a kid. I did something similar to Speaker A, and so I appreciate the organization.
Yeah, so we got a question here at Robert Livermore. Glenn?
Chuck, with that last comment, man, you are digging yourself a deeper trench, I just got to say, on the whole Rotary front, but we would welcome you with open arms. Love your talk. Thank you. I'm really concerned about seismic safety in the Bay Area. It's been a little bit on the quiet front because we haven't had any notable earthquakes lately, I guess. But from your point of view and your companies, what do you think are the top 2 or 3 seismic risks from an infrastructure point of view? And more importantly, what do you think community leaders and business leaders can do more to get those top seismic infrastructure risks taken care of?
Well, I think one of the issues, like, you have to balance between historical buildings, because many of these historical buildings were not built for the seismic risk, yet they're beautiful buildings. So I think continuing to figure out how to upgrade those buildings and creating economic incentive to make those safer, but yet keeping those historical buildings. We have a few of them here in Livermore that I wouldn't want them to go completely away, but there needs to be a little more flexibility in the law to allow safety to happen so developers will do something. A lot of times we call something historical, but we need to be a little bit wiser about how we approach that. So I think that could help in the seismic side. I mean, you probably know this, some of you engineers, you build a building like an eraser, so it flexes, but it doesn't collapse. The main thing is human safety. So there's a balance between, you don't want to build a building that's not going to collapse at all because it will become way too expensive. But if you're protecting premium infrastructure, you have to do things a little bit differently in how you approach it. You've got to look at that from a value standpoint. And I think the Bay Area has done a lot. I mean, the seismic code has gone up significantly over the last 20 years. It was hard passing the test, I remember, in the early 90s for me, because they kept changing the code. because they kept learning more about earthquakes. And the 1989 earthquake changed the whole view of things. That was the last very large earthquake we had. And so I think awareness of older buildings and making sure that things are safe and giving economic incentive. Anything you do, you need to create economic incentive, because people who are making money, you got to give them a reason to do it. Or you do something, you do a law that allows it to happen. Yeah.
So Don Wentz, I see you've been patiently waiting.
Yes, can you hear me, Chuck?
Yes, I can, Don.
You know, I think we have met before, but I'm not related to the Wentz Construction Company.
Okay.
I actually had security management responsibility at the lab for closing East Avenue. So it might have been then.
I dealt with Carrie Bailey. You probably know Carrie Bailey.
Yes, Carrie, very well, yes.
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned that you had ideas and suggestions on how to help our road club bring in younger people. I was going to say fresh kill. I don't know. Younger Rotarians to our club. What are some ideas that you have that you could share?
Well, I think valuing what information that you have as retirees. There's all kinds of information in this room that's incredibly valuable, and continuing to be able to express that to other people, and maybe doing special events that are outside of this area, where people can come and learn from your experience, and where you can mentor people in different things. I think that this generation, especially the one below me, is looking a lot for mentoring right now. And so I think doing some things where you're able to mentor, and some of them need grandpas or grandmas. They also need moms and dads, for those of you who are a little younger. But people need hope right now. And they need a series of people who express hope. In the country that we live in right now, there is so much discord and disagreement, and we disagree over stupid stuff. To me, conflict makes things like a river. Total agreement makes things like a swamp. But if you can learn to have the ability to listen to one another and hear different people's opinions, I believe this at work. Co-mentoring is really good. I get mentored by my son all the time, and I mentor him. And I believe that for us to move, especially the political environment that's been in this world right now, I have more problems with the separation and the inability to listen than I do with the difference of the opinions.
Very Rotarian, huh? Very Rotarian. Oh, Carolyn, you've got a question for Chuck.
Very much for your being with us today, Chuck. So have you or anybody from your company spoken to the students at Livermore High School who are part of the Green Engineering Academy?
No. If my
They would
marketing person
benefit
heard
from-
this, she would set it up right now.
Yeah, I think they'd benefit greatly from
Yeah.
hearing about what you guys do.
Yeah. We tried to get a bunch of the younger engineers. There's an organization that helps young engineers. With COVID, we were struggling a little bit more. We were going to do it with the Tracy School District, but getting more presentations to young people, that's on my heart. We were struggling last year to get people to do it, some of our younger people. So
Chuck, same question for LOSPO.
Question for LOSPO?
No, same question about LOSPO. How about
Yeah.
Las Positas? How about trying to mentor or so they can walk across the street?
We've tried that before. We've talked to them. One of our biggest problems, we're so busy with our work that we need people to help us, right? So like if they bug us, we would. It's like Splin bugging me to come here. He knows how busy I am. So, and you almost have to connect with people. So I think it's a great thing for us to get involved with Las Positas. Yeah.
Connecting with people. That's another thing that Rotarians are good at. You're feeling like the full court press here, right? So Pat Coyle, I see you've got another hand up there. Is that the last hand that you had up?
No, this is another quick
I'm gonna
follow-up.
find him.
Chuck, my question, it's sort of in the spirit of the mentoring and so forth. I wondered if you've had much exposure to Engineers Without Borders, student chapters, or professional chapters, which are often full of young professional engineers. But if not, I can certainly follow up with you offline.
Yeah, you could. We've done some with them. Several of our engineers have been involved with that. We're really focusing right now, long-term, even in recruiting, is to get involved with alumni organizations and help, like at Chico, Cal Poly, San Jose.
The Cal Poly Engineers Without Borders student chapter is just a rock star amongst that kind of team. So, all right, catch up with you later on that. Thanks.
Michael, you got a question?
You obviously do municipalities and commercial development. What about residential? Where do you draw the line in terms of?
Yeah, for us, we do a lot of multifamily residential. There are several other companies in the region that do a lot more single family. We have not done that as much, but we do a lot of apartments and townhomes and that type of stuff. Our bread and butter has been large infrastructure projects for commercial, industrial, retail development over time. The payment works really well, and we have a system set up for it, so it's really good. But we're doing more and more. We're doing some stuff with D.R. Horton now in the valley, some residential to do that as well. When you do residential subdivisions, it's a little bit more different approach from a team standpoint, because they're than how you approach a commercial project. A little bit different. So.
Well, I had another question, because you said about the downtown projects. I know they stopped it and they started it again. And so there's a new company that took that over that's finished.
The Legacy was always the developer, but the contractor went bankrupt who was building the project, so they had to get a new contractor. And it was a nationwide contractor. It wasn't that project that made them bankrupt. It was an overall contractor, and so they had to find someone who could take it over and manage the project. So it had nothing to do with the project itself. What?
Any other questions for Chuck? I don't see any hands up going out there in Zoom. Oh, Irv.
Comment on the advantage of having a master's degree in civil engineering and whether you encourage that amongst your employees.
We do, but I'm just going to say we have a mixed group. We have people who don't even have a college degree in the surveying field, and they usually come up through labor unions. And about 30% of our work is surveying. In fact, we did the most construction staking survey hours, beating BKF. They're a good firm too, but we did 94,000 hours of surveying in the Bay Area last year with our field crews. And so those are not so much master's degrees. On the college side, we probably 10-15% of our PEs and our engineers have master's degrees, and it particularly is helpful for them, especially a business degree or a water resources degree, so that they can understand, especially on some of these larger projects that we're working on. Civil engineering is pretty basic from a engineering side, because we do basically grading plans, utility plans, hydrology, hydraulics. I would say we do a little bit of structural, but not a whole bunch of structural. We will usually get another firm to do that for us as part of it. So I would say electrical engineering more important for master than civil. But civil, a master is a wonderful thing. I never got my master's as part of it, but I think it's very important. The best engineers are the ones that can communicate. you know. So.
Like a lot of things, yeah. So, Chuck, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate it.
Again, fellow Rotarians, oh, I turned off the mic there, sorry. You're not going to want to miss the meeting next week. I'm going to miss the meeting next week, though. My wife and I have travel plans. President-elect Splin is going to be practicing for his year. He says it's going to be the best meeting ever. You're not going to want to miss it. So thank you all for joining us. Be kind, be safe.